Good morning, everyone. It is Friday, the 12th of August, 2022, and it's early in the morning, but already there is a crew of people doing construction. Anyway, I heard this side. So on that note, oh my goodness, the last 24 hours again too. I had a really good conversation with a friend last night for a few hours on a whole bunch of different things, but a lot of the stuff I've been talking about, people seem to be a little bit more interested in, and they don't think I'm as crazy anymore, which is good. But he's always been open to this stuff, and I've known him for so long, since like my Patricia days. We've been to war together, yeah, lived close to each other in Ottawa and stuff like that. Anyway, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so we had some really good conversations because he's smart. And we got on some pretty intense topics. And so, like, I was talking to him about the possibility of this being a flat holographic plane with a dome and all these other things. And he was just listening and like asking like very great questions. But and then we would talk, and he's just like, and like not even remotely phased by anything I was saying. I was talking about like NASA's fake, and this is why, and like the Challenger thing, and like I was like talking about gravity and curvatures and flat Earth, and then like a whole bunch of other things that I knew that he like would have possibly thought or known because of his background and stuff like that. But still, yeah. So it was good. And but then we were talking about like some controversial topics that I've talked about on my YouTube channel, and my mother also actually a few days ago she talked to me about one of my videos. So I wanted to address those, and it's not because I want anyone to take offense to what I'm saying. This is just how this is how I'm being led to believe our history what was and why. And I have read a lot of books, like I've said before, from so many different areas, translated books from so many different languages as well, and then talking to people of different languages, exploring countries myself, and looking at old structures and monuments and art and music. And anyways, so on that note, we were talking about Dave Chappelle, and like I love the guy. Like I mean, I think he may or may not be part of these Freemason groups, but even if he is, like again, there's only a select few. There are these weird, like sinister types, right? There are good Freemasons out there as well, and I've read their Morals and Dogma. I've read their like so many different books and on doctrine and stuff like that, and hidden symbology, and it honestly reads just like no offense, like other religions and other organizations and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of good to it, but there's a lot of misleading information as well. And so take the good, leave the bad. I don't know, and then address stuff that needs to be addressed. And so we were talking about slavery, of all freaking topics. You know what I mean? Like way to start the freaking conversation. Anyway, because like there's because it's been. I mean, if history. I'll start from the beginning. I don't believe in the Big Bang Theory. I don't believe in the theory of evolution at all. I do believe that there's been and still are like different different looking humans and different blood types, right? Humans like all over this plane. And so it's not just black and white, right? It's like so many different skin colors. And so even when we talk about slavery, it's been funneled towards just like one specific skin color, when there's been so many other skin colors as well that have that are still dealing with slavery, right? So even in Asia, like North Korea, for example, and China, like these are basic examples where even human trafficking, there's a lot of it there still. And we've even in Canada, we have a very appalling history when it comes to Indigenous people, Asians, immigrants that have come over for work and other things, as well as blacks. And I don't even know if these words are offensive, and if they are, I don't mean them to be. And so like I hope that matters for something. And so like even with so all of these different looking people, right, coming from all different parts of the world, not evolving from monkeys, none of us did, and that's also insulting, and also something that like is mentally abusive, right? Like why would you fucking lie about stuff like that? Like when we are all like creative, like divine beings of incredible engineering design that no one can duplicate on Earth, right? And there's a reason for it. It's because someone else created us, right? And so I don't even want to go on the atheism thing right now, because I'm already talking about something that's already like intense, right? And I'm not even done yet with that. And so with slavery, in the Americas too, there have been multiple different races, right? So it's not just it's all skin colors, all like even giants, right? And so I'm not even just talking about skin colors, but even blood types, different shapes, sizes, and everything, right? And so it's really easy to divide and control us when you are making everything about race, because like it's just everywhere. Like it's just like, and there's even different species, right? So if we all like look the same, then like, I don't know, then we're gonna go and attack like well, and this is why there's religions and political parties. These are the hidden divisive tactics that these psyops that they're set out for. So anyway, all very clever. Like I'm impressed, I'm not gonna lie, but it's also like awful and appalling, especially when I know what happens on the ground with all of this stuff that they do, and it's appalling and disgusting, and it's yeah. And I don't know why. I don't know why. Okay, so yeah, so in the Americas, and so there was a period of time during what could possibly be a much longer history in the Americas that transcend just not like so even indigenous people in that area could very well be native to that area, but also we need to like get access to the different archaeological sites, locations, like the different museums, like anything that's hidden from us, and look at that and make assessments on our own, because people are looking at different bone structures and ruins and stuff like that in the Americas. And again, like I'm saying, they're finding races of beings that it doesn't make sense based on the history that we were told, but it's his story, and it is a bunch of lies. And it didn't just start with George Washington as a Freemason, who's he was admitted that he was one, and was a Freemason who Satanist who was I guess like a big contributor of of this like atheist transhuman movement that we're dealing with. This is all by design as well, and because if you're like transhuman and like not reproducing and not eating too much or like whatever, then, or eating a lot, depending on the area, then you're easy to like we are all slaves, right? And so but it's definitely, obviously there's been different degrees during different periods of time, but even current day there's slavery in a lot of countries, and there's even children that are born in prisons and concentration camps in Asia and other areas. So like yes, we do have a history that we need to like change, and we are changing it, but we also have to stop lying to people about things that we're lying to them about. And yeah, so ancient, more advanced civilizations, so all races and races too, had advanced cities, had advanced communities that were like millions in population, or thousands or hundreds of thousands, depending on what they wanted or what they liked, right? And or how advanced again they were. And this also depends on the cycles of life too, because we've had natural and man-made disasters that have wiped out complete areas or almost complete areas, and there could have been a couple survivors or people that like reclaimed land from other areas, but yeah, we are still hiding this stuff, and I don't know, I mean I know why, but so if you look at a whole bunch of different buildings, like even in the Ottawa area, or like in your major cities, or like the wonders of the world, Taj Mahal, like different areas, you're going to see that these buildings with the antennas and the scope and the design and the layout and the engineering considerations, that it was not for congregations, it was not for parliament or schools or football games or government, none of that stuff. It was for it was some kind of infrastructure that was by water, not by by design as well. It was by water is what I mean. But like for frequency, vibration, and sound, right? So like there's even with the embedded organs and like the different and anyway, and so we need to look at that, and even looking at teepees, for example, and seeing the art, because different teepees have different history that they look at to remember. So I would love to look at that as well. And oh yeah, and these Freemason types as well, that they transcend all races, right? And so Barack Obama, for example, and there's even indigenous leaders that we think are, are these great, amazing people, but they're also part of this and assist with abductions and human trafficking, and they do, and that sucks, and it's frustrating, and they all assist in covering it up, and again, even government, and it's a shame. And so if people knew that they didn't come from monkeys, and that they were advanced before, and that there's people that looked like them that were prophets and healers and mystics and engineers and leaders, of great capacity and grandiose and rich, even in the Americas as well, then it wouldn't be so like just hard, like, you know what I mean? Like that's a lot of suffering to unpack because of that stuff, and knowing actual things that did happen to people based on what they looked like, and like my history as well, like Scottish Irish, like my like the Dunluce Castle was part of my family lineage at one point, and then the story that I was told years ago was that like there was obviously like a lot of raping and pillaging going on, and stuff like that, and massacres, and so everyone got like when the men were out, like these people came and apparently raped and killed like almost all the women and children, and then some people, obviously, like why I'm in existence, some people were able to escape or maybe away, and like carry on in other areas, like in who knows where, right? Like this is where migration happens too, when people get pushed off their land, and it's happening in Russia and Ukraine right now as well, and that's like it's just the demographic of the area that the event is involved in, right? And so there's a lot of like horrific events that are happening in Africa as well too, but like we're not like hearing about them as much, and I don't know why, but even in the Middle East, like I hear about all this stuff daily. Even the remdesivir, prophylax, fentanyl, like oh my god, like so many, like Ebola in Africa, like a couple of years ago, was awful, and remdesivir and what they gave them for treatments was, I can't even say this word, but it harmed and caused the death of many people, and they keep doing this stuff. And Bill Gates and these people that like keep on going to these areas, it terrifies people, because as soon as they go there, there's magically like a leaked virus, you know what I mean? Or there was, you know, just before they get there, and then they get there within days, and then the media sensationalizes this stuff. Like I've said this before, and then they introduce these therapeutics that cause spread and harm and damage, and then they call it other things, and it's and this is why I say, like, we don't want your business, and we don't want your wars, and we don't want WEF, who, wherever they get involved in the world, they make things worse for people. They see targets of opportunity. They see people slowly starting to get better, or in like civil unrest, again, because like, they can exploit so many different groups and demographics, because they've been doing this for hundreds or thousands of years. And that's why every country, I've said this as well too, has its own identity as well. We have our own roles to play, different demographics. So like me being like a blonde woman, white girl with with tattoos, and you know like whatever, like fit or whatever, like there's there's like a different stereotype regarding me, right? And again, like these are debunked, and also on this heavy topic as well, I've had this argument with people that have lived like privileged lives, or or lives that were much easier than mine was, right? Like with welfare and you know, abuse and you know, running water and electricity, like, you know, and again, like I'm beyond that stuff. Like I don't blame anyone from anything. I understand that life is hard, and I did also get a lot of good skill sets, in my life, and so I wouldn't take any of that back, right? But also joining the military at a very young age, being an infantry officer, getting a scholarship, going to school, like working out. I've done hard things in my life, and I've lost people, like a lot of people in my life, in various capacities, whether it be just like, you know, old age, or suicides, or in war, or car accidents, it's a lot, and so. And then still being of service, and like giving to charities and volunteering, and I've been through what I've told you, like in my throughout my life, right, with stalking and harassment, like at the lower levels, and then beyond that too, even being in war and being like attacked by my own in war, right? And so and people are telling me about things that happened so long ago, and I'm just like, I get it, but and it's rough, but like, what do we do with this? You know what I mean? Like I can also, and I won't, but I can also like give you like the history of my family as well, and then also my own personal story, and showing like the things that I'm trying to do to be a better person and be the example of what I want others to be, and so I just, like, that's what we just have to do. Like that's the answer, right? We have to transcend ego and these reality tunnels that we're putting ourselves into and identifying with, and find common ground through truth, like that spans, again, like biological sex, or like hair color, or like you know, blood type, and all these things, and even blood types. These viruses that come out they do respond differently to different blood types. Like I've said before, like HIV, for example, seems to elicit stronger responses in people with B blood groups, whereas like you get this COVID flu virus elicited more of a response in A and O, and more O than A. But and in the negative blood types, like I'm going to say this again, like no therapeutic is going to be able to give them the ability to elicit like an antibody response, because they just don't have that, right? And so that's, if that's like 15% of the population is Rh negative, then why are, like when I ask my like multiple doctors, I'm like, have you asked people what their blood types are? They're like, no. And it's like, I'm like, okay, again. I just get frustrated because there's so many people that I would just love to have conversations with about their own trades, and they just think, they come with this like anticipation or this expectation that they should know literally everything. And if I bring up anything that they may not know, then that's somehow like that makes them, like discredits them, but it doesn't at all. Like in fact, if they listen to the information, that doesn't discredit them. When I've given you information that's science-based, peer-reviewed, like beyond like Google and like the fake ass stuff you're getting from CBC, that discredits you. So all the people that I've given information to that have just like not looked at it, you discredited yourself, because that information, it doesn't change the information, right? And so, and I have this information that I've been putting on YouTube in my links, and sharing to people like throughout multiple levels of government. And so yeah, and so like there's even been, and there still is, like human testing being done on various groups of people by virtue of having like specific like rare attributes. There's going to be an explosion again. But anyway, and so like even albino people, like they've been like there's been a lot of atrocities towards them, and like and so like that's a thing. And or people with like different eye colors or hair colors, like a lot of abductions too. They and human trafficking involves, like, again, it's like very specific things that people want, right? And so that's there's a lot of pain and suffering in the world, and the more we focus on like what our own have gone through, the less we're seeing what other people have gone through. When I talk about like the atrocities, like I can give you so many examples in Canada alone, but there's so many present day in the world as we speak, and this is the stuff that I just, like, if people would listen. I'm not talking about like people listening to my YouTube videos. I'm saying like our leadership, like not like the regular, you know, soldiers and law enforcement and stuff like that, but like cabinet members for sure, because they're the ones that are sitting down assessing everything, right? And they're supposed to be experts in their fields. So cabinet members in government for sure, and anyone that's like judicial, legislative, like these people, anyone that are heads of their institutions. So head of the RCMP, head of the army, you know, like these people should be held accountable, or at least like be open to having advisors and consultations that go beyond the narrative they're given, right? And there's more coming out with evidence and data that shows just how bad this was. And I shared it on Twitter too, so if anyone wants to look at it. But it's just regarding like even in Canada and the US, how doctors and nurses were incentivized to treat people as COVID patients. They were given more money. I've said this for so long, and like and so I'll put the link in the description box for this too. And it's the truth, honestly, and it's verifiable, because I have friends who are in multiple levels of government who have been risking their lives and their careers and their relationships and literally everything, giving me information to expose this stuff. And now Helen, who was being character assassinated online by the media, which doesn't surprise me. Like I was duped for a few hours, and like I was reading, I'm just like, oh my god, you know. And it's because I've heard so many bad stories, honestly, on like Signal and Telegram about like people just doing the wrong thing, that I was just like, it just didn't surprise me, right? So so when I heard the reality was that it was like, no, she was actually trying to expose the cover-ups. I was like, what? The balls on this woman! Oh my god! And then I'm like, okay, first of all, she's a hero. And then it just like made my day. And then I was just like, oh, that makes sense why like these people are not like able to talk to me right now, because like they're probably suspended or fired too, unfortunately. But I hope that what happens is that they just look at everything that they have, like the higher ups, whoever's making these like suspensions or whatever. I hope they look at what these people have, like Helen, and And then because like she'll be promoted, right? You know what I mean? Like there's no way that you can fire or suspend someone that like literally had the courage to go against literally everyone, right? And then so like I know how terrifying that is, and it's doing the right thing. So like if you look at the information coming out, trust me on this, like these therapeutics, even from the initial offset, like were not good. They were very harmful, and they were trying to push remdesivir and whatever that drug is, and fentanyl morphine mix on people at the initial offset of this as well, and again for money, and this causes a lot of death, and it was caused a lot of death in Africa with Ebola, and they were trying to introduce this here, like I keep on saying, and that's what killed Michael Jackson too. But yeah, it's just where was I going with that? I just totally lost my train of thought. I was coming here, injuries. Oh yeah, and so and then how they were doing the PCR cycles, they were like it was overcycled, so like literally 100% of people would be getting positive PCR tests, right? False positives, and so that was more money as well, and that's why they were increasing the cycles or the rates they were using, like 48, 38 or 36 or whatever it was, like depending on where you went. And this is going to give you a false positive, like I kept saying. And so hospitals were literally, and if someone was put on a ventilator, that was even more money. And if someone died from COVID, that was even more money. And so this is how sinister this is, and that's why like people were saying like, why don't you go in healthcare? I'm like, because right now they are. A lot of them are the enemy, and doing the same things that people were doing in Europe. They're doing the exact same things that people in Europe were doing in the early 1900s, 1910s, 1920s, 1930s, and I don't see any difference in people giving someone like a cocktail of a therapeutic, and killing them that way, or putting them on a ventilator, knowing that 90% of the people that are put on ventilators die. Like I think that you are exactly the same type of murderer that these people were, and so like all of these accounts coming out with people like Benjamin Gord, who who had a bike accident, and then the paramedics on site gave him a jab, and he's like, no. They gave it to him anyways. He was blacked out, and then what they gave him was that Propylax fentanyl morphine, and it's like, why? And then he was and then they put him on a ventilator. And he fought this, like he threw it off, a guy that just had a freaking bike accident. And then he goes to the nurse, he's like, why did you put me on this when clearly I don't have any respiratory issues? And he's like, this is end of life. This is the option for end of life only. And she's like, oh, it's because you have COVID. And he's like, and they cycled it, at 48 cycles or whatever, so it was a false positive, possibly. But even if it wasn't, that you don't again, you have to respond to symptoms like morons, like, oh, you have COVID, so we're just gonna like intubate you and like kill you, like, are you insane? And and inoculate you with something that likely also will kill you. And so luckily he survived, but like I know a lot of accounts of people that didn't survive, and I know that they were fighting to like not be inoculated with things or intubated or all of those things, and or were like even pushing to like be put on their chest instead of their back, like common sense things. And but yeah, like people look for money, and so this can't be hidden anymore. So anyone that wanted to pretend they were a hero during this, you are not a hero. And I'm sorry, anyway, I'm so yeah, like people like Helen were trying to expose it while they were healthcare professionals that we were like, I was literally telling people, I'm like, unless you absolutely need to, do not go to a hospital, because you know what I mean, like no matter what, jabbed or not, like I'm sorry, because if you have a vaccine injury, which I know a lot of people that did, they're not going to count that, and they don't. And anyway, it depends on the day. And so the mistreatment of people, the segregation, the isolation of people. Like we even have like camps like in the exterior of the Ottawa area and Montreal area too. And there's plans, right? Or there were plans that are being messed with by people like me speaking out. Well, not like me, like the courage from this cop, this Ottawa police officer who's suspended right now. Like she definitely is amazing. Definitely the hero in this freaking story, because it's awful stuff, right? Like covering up the deaths of 29 children because of this therapeutic during investigations, and that's one person, right? And that's in one area. And so I don't know if it's mass psychosis they're going to justify this with, or if we're just going to like do the reality of this where it was mass murder, and people did know what they were doing. People did know when they were inoculating people and not aspirating what they were doing. People did know what they were doing when they were giving the remdesivir and the other stuff. People did know what they were doing when they were like intubating people. People, like you did. And so, and if you didn't, then I like you're still guilty, right? Like the ignorance is not an excuse, because if you're paid for these to help us, and you don't, and you willingly and openly harm us for profit and pressure, then there's a lot of whistleblowers now too, though. So I'm proud that I know people that are heroes, that are struggling with like stuff like now in the media, but at least they can sleep at night too, right? So it doesn't really matter what anyone thinks of me or her or anyone else that's like speaking out on this stuff, as long as we know that what we're doing is the right thing. Yeah, so like even with like the kidney, liver deaths and stuff like that, and I just wanted to like bring up a few points, sorry, just about what's been coming out, and not make it too negative for the weekend. But I don't know, I think I'm gonna leave it at that. I was gonna talk a little bit about the North Pole and about how I would be really interested in going there, but there seems to be some complications with that, right, too, because that's government controlled, multiple levels of government, and so is Antarctica. And I would need some kind of like a wooded vessel. And this is too why, like, ships of ancient times, when they're saying that they were like more primitive, these huge ass wooden ships, you know what I mean, with these like bows and like, I don't know, sterns, and like I clearly wasn't Navy, so I don't know the word, like the port side and whatever, but like these were I'm assuming now, like more than ever in the last couple of years, that because of the magnetism at the North Pole, like you need to have a wooden structure so that it's not impacted by it. And then in other areas too, where there's like high degrees of magnetism, like maybe that's what's going on in the Bermuda Triangle too, where like things are just messing up because of like high like magnetism or electricity that's messing with everything. And so if you have a device, an aircraft or a sea craft or a land craft that would not be impacted by magnetism or like different forces, then like that would obviously help things too, right? Because there's accounts of like ships getting sucked in and like just like exploding and like and stuff like that, like, but maybe it's because of like the of what we use now. And so so maybe we should like now have like huge ass ships made of wood again. And where did they go? Did we burn them all? And where did we get the wood for these ships? Are they from these old trees that we used to have, these large, ancient, majestical, mystical trees? And maybe that's why we can't build these big ass boats anymore and go to the north and the Antarctica. Anyway, I think I'm going to leave it at that, and hope that everyone has a wonderful weekend.